अपना इंडिया, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, पढ़ाई हो जो करनी, जरा भी ना घबराना, गोल्डन बुक्स को अपनाना। अपना इंडिया, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना। कक्षा विषय कोई हो, आसान समझ पाना, गोल्डन ही तो है सफलता का पैमाना। गोल्डन ही ला रहा है चेहरे पे मुस्कुराना, मैं गोल्डन का दीवाना। अपना इंडिया, बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना।
Golden presents the best-selling reference books for mathematics for class 9 and 10. Main features of Golden books are: all the books are based on latest NCERT textbooks and are as per the latest syllabus of CBSE. Important points have been given for each chapter for quick revision. Solution of all the NCERT textual exercises are given. Other important questions for practice and examinations are also given in a very simple language. Objective type question bank is given, which include MCQs, fill in the blanks and match the columns with answers. The Golden books suit all the pockets and are a boon for the weak, mediocre and intelligent students alike. Buy Golden books for your golden future.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sanjeev Jaswal, editor of Golden Books and coordinator for today's webinar on behalf of New Age International Publishers. We welcome all the distinguished teachers participating in the webinar on the latest curriculum of mathematics issued by CBSE for the academic year 2022-23 for classes 9th and 10th. With great pleasure, I would like to inform you that the webinar is being attended by teachers from across the country, which is organized by Golden Books, published by New Age International Publishers. Now, I take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Soumya Gupta. He is the managing director of New Age International and is looking after the publishing house for last 20 years. He holds degrees in BE Chemical and MS Publishing from New York University. Under his able guidance and entrepreneurship, New Age continues to achieve new heights every day. His vision is to publish best quality books for students that are not only tools of literacy, but a medium of education that inspire them to be well-rounded human beings. Now I request sir to kindly join us and say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jaswalji. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all and distinguished participants in this webinar on the latest curriculum of mathematics issued by CBSE for the current academic year for classes 9th and 10th. I especially welcome Mr. Rajesh Singh, sir, who will be conducting this webinar along with a panelist who will play an important role during this course of time. It gives me an immense pleasure to announce that we have more than 100 participants and teachers present in this webinar, and more will be joining us very shortly. New Age International Publishers' famous Golden books are totally based on NCERT textbooks and are one of the best-selling reference books not only in India, but also in Middle East countries. Golden books are liked by teachers, parents, and students alike. As we know, CBSE changes curriculum almost every year. So Golden are the first ones to update the books as per the latest curriculum so that teachers and students do not face any difficulty. For this, we have marketing offices situated all over India in all major cities. New Age publishes all kinds of school books for students in all the major subjects. Golden mathematics reference books are published from classes 1 to 10th, which are strictly based on NCERT textbooks and are as per the latest curriculum issued by CBSE. We do also publish Golden mathematics workbooks, which are based also on NCERT and are from classes 1 to 10 standard. Mathematics pull-out assignments are also available for classes 6 to 8, which are written in very simple and lucid language, which will help students to get good grades in the final examinations. New Age also publishes textbook series called Maths Made Easier for classes 1 to 8 standard, in which the language is very simple as per the intellectual capacity of the student at that age. Let's Play with Numbers Mathematics Practice Book is another series which is also very popular among students and teachers. Mental Mathematics is also a practice workbook for classes 1 to 8, which enables readers to sharpen their mind by solving the questions with mental aptitude. Table book is also a good book for students to enhance their base in the mathematics. I'm glad to announce you that New Age is the first publisher to publish Vedic mathematics class size from 1st to 5th standard. These books works as a bridge between Vedic mathematics, abacus calculations, and modern mathematical techniques as per the standard of the student at that age. Dear participants, we will be issuing participation certificates to you for attending the webinar. To get the certificate, kindly fill out the feedback form, which will be sent to you on WhatsApp after the webinar. We will also issue specimen copies to all the faculties who will be joining this webinar. For that, kindly email your class you are taking at specimen@newagepublishers.com. I hope today's webinar will enlighten us all with latest curriculum of CBSE for classes 9th and 10th and help all the teachers in their teaching endeavors. Thanks once again. And I would also like to thank Mr. Jaiswal in advance for conducting this webinar. So Mr. Jaiswal, please take care.
Thank you, sir, for your brief note and the information regarding various books published by New Age International Publishers for mathematics subject. To start the discussion, let me introduce you to the panelists for the webinar. All our panelists are well experienced and have been nurturing students since many years. Now let me give their brief introduction. Mrs. Shailja Chandrasekharan, Sri Shankara Senior Secondary School, Chennai. Mrs. Bhakti Joshi, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Ahmedabad. Mr. Jyoti Ramanan, Sugna Pep School, Coimbatore. Mr. Devashish Samal, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Rourkela. Mrs. Shaji Moles, Ansar English School, Thrissur, Kerala. Mr. Satyaveer, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Bikaner. Mrs. Niranjana Bhattacharya, Mahadevi Birla World Academy, Kolkata. Mr. Jitu Murmu, AECS, Jamshedpur. And Mr. Binoy Majumdar, Sukanta Academy Higher Secondary School, Tripura. A warm welcome to all the panelists. Now let me introduce you to Mr. Rajesh Singh, who will be conducting today's webinar. Mr. Rajesh Singh is working as TGT Mathematics in Mata Jai Kaur Public School, Ashok Vihar, Delhi, for last 34 years. Mr. Singh has a rich experience of more than 20 years as an author and has authored more than 200 books for various renowned publishers. He has held more than 50 workshops on mathematics. A double postgraduate in mathematics and business administration, he is passionate about the subject and has been an active participant in capacity building programs. Today, he is here to throw some light on the latest syllabus of mathematics for classes 9th and 10th and the change in pattern of examination by CBSE. He would talk about the teaching pedagogies in mathematics for fruitful learning and his views on the books published by New Age International. I hope this webinar will enlighten all of us a bit on this topic and help you all in your teaching endeavors. You all are welcome to clear your doubts and ask questions in the questions and answer session. Now I request Mr. Rajesh Singh sir to kindly join and enrich us regarding the subject. Mr. Rajesh Singh.
Good evening, everybody. I am happy to see so many people have joined. I'll share my screen to start with. Right, coming straight to the point, because you see, there is a sentence which says that the only constant is change, and that really applies to CBSE. every year you will have something new or else coming up in CBSE. And every time something new is there, our publishers, they start with changing the content in the books or changing the format of the books or something like that. But today we will be talking mainly about three things. One is rationalization of syllabus of class 9. Second is rationalization of syllabus of class 10. And of course, assessment and evaluation. For purpose of reference, I have used two different official documents. One is which is available on CBSE that is the CBSE syllabus 22-23 mathematics. And second is I'm talking about the syllabus 22-23. In last 2 years also they have been syllabized because of pandemic. Except pandemic, there was a lot of again rationalization which was done unofficially, but that was different. And then there were term type exam, term 1 exam, term 2 exam. Now this year there is no term 1 exam, term 2 exam, there is only one exam. Anyway, and the other document I have referred to is NCERT publications. If you follow this particular chain, you will read that, you will reach that document. NCERT has taken out some booklets, e-booklets, in which they have mentioned about rationalization of all the subjects. But if you want specifically for mathematics, then you have to go with this kind of chain which I have printed here, which I have written here. So now the question is, why should syllabus be rationalized? What do we mean by rationalization? By rationalization, we mean that some parts of syllabus are deleted. No part is added, only deletion, etc. is done. Now, why this deletion has to be done? This is a question which many people ask me. Wherever I had gone for workshops in 3 different states, 3 different places in last 1 month, and everywhere everybody was asking me the same question, that why should there be rationalization? See, one is that pandemic was there, so obviously for 2 years our children were not able to come to school. All it was happening was that people were learning either through the mobile or through their computer, laptops, or whatever. So when people are learning through mobiles and laptops, you all understand that what happens. I don't need to really elaborate on that. So one reason is pandemic, and pandemic has of course taught us many things. Pandemic is not exactly over, but it is almost over. Even now we are having something like 10,000 or 12,000 cases per day. But of course it is, considering the population of India, that is a very, very small number. And maybe it is not anymore that dangerous as it used to be. So pandemic is almost over, but not exactly over. Maybe it gets over in another 2-3 months. The second is to provide space for experiential learning and a creative mindset. Now, what does it mean? Experiential learning basically means learning through activities. That there are, as you know, there are various types of learners. And the last type of learner is, you must have heard of WARC model in your B.Ed courses, etc. So there are kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic learners are most interesting learners particularly for maths teachers. They are the people who learn by working through their hands. That means until and unless they have fiddled with something or what, they will not be able to learn about it. So, and of course, experiential learning basically means learning through activities. So we have a lot of activities in mathematics. So activities, learn through activities, and having a creative mindset. So all of you must have heard of art integration. Now, art is like a sugar-coated pill. You know, the sugar coating in the pill is art integration. Now, how is that? That will come to later, sometime later in this particular discussion, I'll talk about it. So, of course, when you have to do this, you have to, the time is same. The time is same, say 9 months, 10 months, whatever the time is. So if you have a tough syllabus and you also have this to be done, then naturally what will happen is that you will not find time to do things. You will have to cut corners. You will have to miss certain things. So to provide you space for doing this experiential learning and having a creative mindset, naturally some parts of syllabus have been ironed out, or some parts of syllabus have been done away with. Now, which are those parts they have done away with? So this is basically the reason why rationalization is done. Now, there was a Macaulay theory, or rather a education policy made by Lord Macaulay way back in the British times. Why did he do it? Because he wanted clerks to help the British administration. So that means there were people who were job seekers. They would go out and seek a job. They knew English, etc., and they would naturally do all kinds of back-end jobs for the British administration. Even after independence, there was nothing done to correct that. Now, of course, that suited them. So obviously they followed it. But this does not suit the independent India. So it's about 75 years now. And of course, there's a new education policy, NEP, as you must have heard about, NEP 2020, which has to be implemented by 2025. 5 years are given to implement that. Now, in that, what happens is that instead of being a job seeker, you have to be a job giver. So that is how, of course, a big problem of joblessness, etc., can be tackled in this country. So anyway, one of the ways was that we have some experiential learning in which some real creative learning takes place. So real learning actually takes place. And of course, a creative mindset where for creative mindset, there is art integration and other such things. I'll talk about them later during the meeting. Now, what has been nationalized? So many of us, if you look at percentage that in class 9th, about 40% syllabus is gone, class 10th, about 30% syllabus is gone. So what has been nationalized? There are certain overlapping and repeated contents which have been nationalized. Like in class 7, you teach, all those people who teach class 7, in class 7, you teach Pythagoras theorem. In class 10, again, you teach Pythagoras theorem. You have taught the angle sum property of triangles. Again, you are teaching angle sum property of triangles. So wherever there is a repetition, in some places there is repetition. So wherever there is a repetition, they have tried to delete that at the higher point, not at the lower point, the higher point. Then there are certain questions with very high difficulty level or which are irrelevant. Now, whenever the difficulty level is high, obviously students don't like to do it. And of course, it's irrelevant also. At times, there are questions which are irrelevant also. So in NCERT books, the problem is that once you have written it, once somebody has written it, then it cannot be removed unless and until the same person comes and says, okay, let me remove it. That is the problem with NCERT. They don't edit their books. The books are exactly same. So even after years and years of publishing, you get the same book. In 2010, these books were really full flow. They were there. So from 2010 to 2022, and some of them are there in 2008 also. So roughly 15 years or 14 years have passed, but the books continue to be the same. So certain parts of the book naturally with time will become irrelevant. So they are not updated. So what they have done is they have reduced those irrelevant parts. There are certain things which can be learned through self or peer learning. That means not very difficult or something. I'll talk about how can we help in that. Then there are certain expectations from a teacher that, okay, teacher will automatically introduce all these things. That also I'll discuss that when I come to that particular point. So these are the four things where rationalization has been done. Generally, rationalization has been done here also, here only. Let's see. Rationalization of syllabus of class 9. Let me first discuss that. There are deleted topics. Now, these are given in that NCERT document I just referred to. You can download it from the NCERT site. You can see it. What they have done is that they have mentioned the article number, article 3.1, 3.2 or whatever, and they have given page number 45 to 47 or something like that. So, but they have not mentioned which exercises have been deleted, not given in the NCERT book. So what I have done for you that I have found out which are those deleted exercises. And of course, I'll be mentioning them. The overall view is that what is repeated has been deleted. Number one, as I told earlier also, that whatever has been repeated, like angle sum property has come 1 year, then again in the next year they are talking about it. So obviously that has been deleted. Angle sum property is taught in class 7 or 8 and it is there in 9 also. I'm talking about quadrilateral. So there in 9 also. So obviously from there you can delete it. So that's what I've done. And second thing is whatever is difficult to interpret. Now, when you will go through everything, you will find out whatever is difficult to interpret has been deleted. See, maths is something, like you ask anybody, how are you in maths, except maths teachers. If you ask people, how are you in maths, most of the people, 8 out of 10 people are going to tell you that they were poor in maths. Why they will say that? After 10 years, we don't want people to say it. After 10 years, naturally, we'd like people to say that we were good in maths. So, of course, one way is that you teach better this, that, all those things, which naturally will not take place. So what has been done is that there are certain points which are difficult to interpret. They are maybe irrelevant also. So they have been deleted. As a general observation, you will also come to the same conclusion as I have. And maybe you don't. So obviously, let's see what is there. This is what is there I'm talking about. Like in number systems, chapter 1, number systems, there is a article 1.4. Now this 1.4, 2.4, 2.3, etc. These are articles. These are not exercises. So in article 1.4, it says representing real numbers on a number line. It's a very difficult thing to do. You have to draw that lens again and again. And again, now it is 10th parts, 100th parts, and so on. So that exercise has only 2 questions and they have been deleted. So there's nothing much has been lost here. Chapter 2, it's a little surprise to me that they have deleted the remainder theorem, because without doing the remainder theorem, coming to the factor theorem will be very difficult. So this is, I think this should be self-learning or peer learning or maybe the teacher's work. Maybe you don't evaluate it. But of course, when you are doing factor theorem, remainder theorem will automatically come in the way somewhere else. So this is going to be there. Then exercise 2.3, which is based on remainder theorem, that has been deleted. Chapter 3, this was also a little surprising to me because plotting a point on the plane. This can be done by self-learning or peer learning. Now, what has been deleted cannot be evaluated. That's okay. But what has been deleted can always be learned. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always learn something. Maybe it is coming in the exam or not coming in the exam. That is different. Now, there are all sorts of students. There are students who are only studying to pass the examination. There are students who are studying maths to prepare themselves for the future. That I want to become an engineer. So if you want to become an engineer, you must naturally be good in maths. Otherwise, naturally, you'll not clear that. So all sorts of people are there. So obviously, it's a heterogeneous group. And as teachers, we have to contribute to each part of that heterogeneous group. So there are people who might like to learn. There are people who might not like to learn. So this is how you really organize your class. That is, of course, depends on you. Now, graph of linear equations in 2 variables. So if you're not doing the first one, the second one obviously becomes irrelevant. And so becomes the graph of equation of lines parallel to x and y axis. Now, the exercises also I have told you. You can see I've written which exercises I'm talking about. As you can see, equivalent version of equivalence 5th postulate. It's a very difficult thing to understand, particularly for a student. Actually, they don't have much background about it. Even teachers don't have much background about it. And nobody really likes to do it because Euclid's 5th postulate and its equivalent version, they don't look like same. It takes a lot of hard work to find out how they are same. So that is why maybe they found it very difficult and irrelevant. So that is why they have deleted it. Now then there are parallel and transistors, a repeated thing. This comes in class 7th and 8th also. And now of course in coming in 9th also. So that is why perhaps they have repeated it. Angle sum property I mentioned earlier also. Inequalities, now this is of course repeated. This is there in class 7, again coming in class 9. So perhaps that's why they have got rid of it. Now what you can do is that come to exercise 6.3. If you see the book, there are some good questions in it, which can be taught in class 7th also. So instead of teaching in class 9, where they won't be taught anymore, you can take it backwards. Maybe not all of them, but some of them you can take them backwards and teach to the class 7 students. As I told you, there's always a heterogeneous group. There can be people who are more interested in mathematics. There are people who are only interested in passing in the exam. So there are obviously people who are more interested in mathematics because they're looking for some future. For them, this is a very good thing. You can take it backwards. So they learn something at least out of it. Same applies to inequalities of a triangle. Now this is difficult. Now many of you will disagree with me that this is not difficult, this is difficult, etc. See, you are looking at your own set of students. Maybe you have 40 students, 50 students, 100 students. So you're looking at only those set of students. And it is naturally going to come to our mind that if they don't do it, what are they going to do in future? Well, you haven't seen the rationalization of class 11th and 12th syllabus. That is even much worse. So don't worry about all that what they will do in future and why this is happening. Now, this is happening because they want that you should actually do a lot of activities in the class. You should do a lot of activities, a lot of art integration and other things in the class. So today's today's webinar is about these things, but someday we can have a webinar in which I can tell you about how to implement art integration, etc. Now, of course, that can come later on, not today. So again, topic of inequalities of a triangle. is considered as difficult topic. Now see, CBSE and NCRT and SCRT, they're not looking at your 100 students or your 50 students. They are looking at the entire state or entire country or something like that. This is to inform you that, there are schools where teachers are not there, or where very few students are there, or all sorts of facilities are not available as might be available in your school. So they have to care for them also. So that is why, all shirt sizes fit one, that sort of phrase actually comes in between. Anyway, they have told you not test it, but you can always teach it and you can make it a part of their system. Like you can have an activities on inequality. There's nothing wrong in having an activity on inequalities of a triangle. All of us have, those those lab manuals in which obviously there is a activity on inequalities, there's an activity on angle sum property. So obviously you can have those activities in the class. So children can learn by activity method, if not by actual method. Okay, let's come to one more slide. You see there is a quadrilateral. Now the list looks very long, like introduction is deleted, angle sum property of a quadrilateral is deleted. Why is it deleted? Because this has already been done in class 7 or class 8, and that is why it's not needed here, because of people already know about it. Types of quadrilaterals. Now this is something they've already done, types of quadrilateral. So this is not exactly a deletion. This is actually, they have already done it. So this is all a part of system. Of course, you can always make the students recall what is the type of quadrilaterals or what is the angle sum property. And maybe you can do some oral questions or something like this on it, or some activity on it. Now in exercise 8.1, only 2 questions get deleted because of this, not the entire exercise. Then comes, there is another condition for quadrilateral to be parallelogram. The one which says if the same pair of opposite sides is equal as well as parallel, then the quadrilateral will be a parallelogram. Now that is considered as difficult. So obviously that has been deleted from the syllabus. Difficult or irrelevant or whatever you call it. Now this is something what I think about. Okay, maybe they have considered it difficult. They could have considered it irrelevant also. So anyway, it's up to you. Areas of parallelograms and triangles is a very difficult chapter according to CBSE. Maybe you find it easy, maybe your children find it easy, but it is generally considered as a difficult topic, and it is irrelevant also because it's not being used anywhere. So that is why perhaps they have deleted the full chapter. Then coming to circles. So there are certain parts, like you all know, all children know what is a circle and what is radius and diameter and circumference, etc. These things are already well known. So that is why these things have been deleted. You see, it says these are deleted, but actually when you teach in the class, you will have to spend maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes on recalling all these. But this is only a recall exercise. Now you don't have to teach it. You don't have to test it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say teach it. You don't have to test it. You can't give a question in the examination that what is radius, what is circumference, etc. That should not be done. But of course, when you are teaching, obviously you'll have to recall all this. So these are certain things which a teacher is supposed to do. So that is what they are looking at. Constructions, a little surprising to me that constructions is a chapter they have deleted all over, from 6th standard to 10th standard, everywhere it is deleted. So maybe they don't want those hand skills, etc. to come in between. Some people might be finding constructions very difficult to do, because at some places they really get tough, you have to be very accurate or something. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it. Now this Heron's formula, it's a very interesting formula. All of you know it. Now Heron's formula, the application of Heron's formula is deleted. That means the first exercise is intact, but the second exercise is deleted, where you have 2 or 3 triangles or 1 rectangle, 1 triangle or something like that combined. So that has been deleted. But you can do it always as an outdoor activity for your students. Take the students to the school's field with chalk dust or with sawdust or whatever. Make 2 adjoining triangles or 3 adjoining triangles, and of course ask the students to find the area of them. Of course, this will be a very interesting activity. I've been doing this for last many years. That it's very simple, because all you need to do is measure the 3 sides. So if you have a measuring tape, which you can easily get from your sports department, I always get it from my sports department. So you can measure all the 3 sides of each triangle, and then of course you can find the area. So the concept is there, but of course you can't test it in the examination. But as an activity, you can always give this concept. So don't lose the concept. Don't lose concepts. The student should not lose the concept. Students should get the concept. So you can do it indirectly using an activity. Then coming to this chapter 13, surface areas and volumes. Now again, you see that surface area of a cube, cuboid, surface area of a right circular cylinder, etc., etc., and volume of cube, cuboid, volume of cylinder. Why have they been deleted? They have been deleted because they were there in class 8th also. In class 8th, you don't have cone, sphere, hemisphere, etc., but you have cube, cuboid, and cylinder. So that is why they have been deleted. What you can do is you can take some good questions out of this, the ones which you think students of standard 8 can do. Maybe not all, but those gifted ones can do. You can take it backwards and ask the students to do it. So that they don't lose, you don't lose the content as such. Of course, everybody will not be able to do it. There are some questions which are very difficult, but there are some questions which are very easy also. So these are the 4 exercises which actually get deleted. However, if you shift them back, they can be used at least partially, if not completely. Then coming to the chapter on statistics, again, introduction everywhere is deleted. Now, what is introduction? Introduction is basically recall of past knowledge, etc. So introduction is something a teacher has to do on his or her own. And if you're doing it on your own, introduction, you say introduction is deleted, but actually introduction is never deleted. You have to introduce the topic in any case. Maximum energy goes in introducing the topic. All of you are experienced teachers, you know it. Then there is something on collection of data. So this can be done by self-learning or peer learning. You can organize a small activity, ask the students to make a questionnaire, any kind of questionnaire, that how many family members, how many males, how many females, some kind of any kind of questionnaire the student can make. Different students can make different questionnaires, and they can collect the data, tally bars, etc., etc. So whatever is deleted can be, of course, taught by activity method or some kind of self-learning, peer learning, etc. You don't have to put much attention into it. Now, this is already there. They have already know what are tally bars and all those things. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it. Then presenting the data like a bar chart or something. So again, presenting a data in a table, not bar chart, table, etc. That is also deleted. So when you are naturally prepared raw data, then you can easily prepare table, etc. So this is something not for everybody, but naturally those who are interested, they can go into it and learn it. Otherwise, it is definitely deleted. Measurement of central tendency is repeated because mean median mode they have done earlier also. Mean median mode for raw data they have done earlier also in 7th class or 7th class, I think. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it here. Though this comes to the, of course, the chapter on probability. Now, what we were doing was that in class 9th, we used to teach experimental probability. That what will happen if a coin is, suppose you have a fake coin, you toss it 100 times and 70 times you get heads. So what is the probability of getting a head? And these are the experimental probability, not classical probability. In class 10th, you have classical probability. So after that onwards, 11th, 12th, etc., you again go on with classical probability and conditional probability, etc. So this was the only place where we were teaching experimental probability. I don't think it was a tough topic or anything like that, but maybe because they wanted to reduce the content by a certain percentage. So that is why they have taken that away. Now this also, if you wish, you can have some activity, etc. Now don't have an activity for everything. You can decide on your own that all that part which is deleted, how much of it I can do by activity or peer learning or self-learning, etc. So obviously you can do it. Now you see after slashing the syllabus, the way it has been slashed. So normally it is 9 months are available for teaching. 1 or 2 months go away in holidays, summer holidays, winter holidays, and 1 week is 1 month goes away in all kinds of examination, half yearly, annual, etc., etc. So I think about 3 months are in all are lost in this. So 9 months are there for actual teaching to take place, and maybe not even 9 months is annual function they start. So maybe 8 months only are available. But if after all this deletion, suppose there were 9 months and 30-40% syllabus is deleted. So obviously, if you go by that, then hardly you need is 5-6 months to finish that. So if you are doing some activities and other things, that will compensate here. So I don't think so there is anything wrong here. Now, these are certain suggestions, what you see written in blue. Later on, I'll share this PPT with you, or rather this PDF file with you. so that you can have a look again. Now coming to class 10th, again the same way I like to go. Now there is some problem which I would like to discuss here. You see, class 10th, the number systems is Euclid's division lemma. Now this is deleted. Maybe it is difficult because it is difficult to understand. So it's not so easy. You must have experienced yourself also. So naturally it is difficult. So that is why they have deleted it perhaps. And revisiting irrational numbers, itself it says revisiting, that means you already know about it. So this is also a somewhat repeated kind of topic. So that is why perhaps they have done it. Again, as I said, now wherever those content gives tension to the mind, what they have done is they have deleted that. Because they want, maybe you learn easy things, no problem, but at least learn them. Neither you are learning easy things nor you are learning difficult things. So at least learn the easy things. That's perhaps what is meant by all this rationalization exercise. So again, division algorithm, this was difficult to divide one polynomial by another. So again, it has been deleted. Now what you see highlighted, that pair of linear equations in two variables. Now there is a difference between what is mentioned in the CBSE document, the CBSE syllabus, and the NCERT deleted part. NCERT deleted part shows these as deleted. So that's why I've written here. But the CBSE syllabus shows them as included in the syllabus. So this is the only point of difference I have found in the entire thing. Only point of difference, this is the only point of difference. According to NCERT, according to NCERT document, these are deleted. But according to CBSE, syllabus 22-23, these are there. So I would like to go with the CBSE syllabus. CBSE, everything else is consistent, no problem. Everything else is okay. Both in matches in both of them. But this is the place it doesn't match. You will see it yourself also. So I think, and by now, I think most of you must have already taught chapter number 3. So that is the problem there. So obviously, I think that we should actually go ahead and teach it unless and until there is a clarification from the CBSE. So at the moment, I would not regard them as deleted. I would regard them as a part of syllabus. But in the NCERT document, it is really mentioned as deleted. CBSE says no, not deleted. CBSE mentions that these are there. Then there is a cross multiplication method. Now 3 methods of solution. You all know elimination method and substitution method and cross multiplication method. Maybe they thought 2 methods are more than enough and cross multiplication method hasn't got much of a application. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it. But if the student wants to learn, they can learn it. There's not much of an issue. If you spend 10 minutes on it, anybody can learn it. Of course, it cannot be asked in the examination. Equation reducible to linear equation. Now, these are difficult, obviously, because sometimes x goes in the denominator or in the root sign, and then you have to substitute or something. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it. As I told you, wherever you get a little tension in your mind regarding something, they say, okay, thank you, delete it. So that is why perhaps these are getting deleted. Same applies to this solution of a quadratic equation by completing the square. Now, 2 methods are already available to us. The quadratic formula is available, and also the other one, that is splitting the middle term, is available. Now, wherever possible, splitting the middle term can be done. If D comes out to be a perfect square, that is B square minus AC is a perfect square, then middle term will always be splitting. But if B square minus 4AC is not a perfect square, obviously, it cannot be split, so you can use quadratic formula. But completing the squares, maybe they find it difficult, so that is why perhaps they have deleted this part. Now, this means that exercise 4.3, this is not 4.3 completely, there's a mistake here. 4.3, question 1 only. Only question number 1 of exercise 4.3 is actually related. Arithmetic progression, till last year, what used to happen was that all the word problems in the last exercise, the applied problems, were actually deleted. Now they have made it a change, they've brought them back because actually they want you to apply everything. So there is no deletion as far as that is concerned. There's no deletion in this chapter. Similar triangles, in the last 2 exercises, 6.4 and 6.5, get deleted. Why? Because areas of similar triangles, maybe they find that theorem on areas, etc., at higher difficulty level. So that is why it has been deleted. Pythagoras theorem is a repetition. It was there in class 7 also. So that is why it has been perhaps been deleted. Now what you can do is some questions from here, from the Pythagoras theorem part, you can always carry them back to class 7 and teach them there. Some, of course, some questions, some, not all of them, some questions are very simple Like there are two poles, height are so and so, what is the distance between their tops or distance between bottoms is given. So that is not a very difficult question. Even 7th class student will be able to do it. So that's what you can do. Coordinate geometry, there is last exercise 7.3, that is area of triangle. Now that is again deleted. This was deleted. This has been deleted for last 2 years. During the pandemic, they were always deleted. So this is deleted here also. So maybe it's considered difficult. So that is why our difficulty level is little higher. Of course, it is little higher than those in earlier exercises. So that is why perhaps this has been deleted. The introduction to trigonometry, ratios of complementary angles. Now, these are not difficult, but they can be done by self-learning or peer learning or something like this. So perhaps, and maybe some teacher resources or this teachers can help. Maybe you can always teach it, but of course you cannot test it. So exercise 8.3 is actually deleted. However, you can always spend some time. If you spend 10-15 minutes on it, maybe not in the entire exercise, only the concept is clear that sine theta is equal to cos 90 minus theta and so on. So that much is okay. Some applications, only introduction is missing. No, introduction is nothing. There's not much of introduction. Introduction only talks about angle of elevation, depression, etc. So obviously these you will have to teach. If you don't talk about all this, then how is anybody going to draw a diagram? So this is practically irrelevant, whatever they have mentioned. Circles, there is no deletion. Construction, as I said, from 6th standard to 10th standard, construction chapter is deleted throughout. So this is also deleted. Area related to circles. Now, this is, of course, little surprising to me, but anyway, 12.1 is perimeter and area of circle. So this is perhaps repeated because already know about perimeter, that is circumference of circle and area of circle, etc. So that is why they delete it. However, there can be some questions which you can carry back to class 7 and you can teach them there. So you can take some questions from here and put them back into class 7. Maybe not all students are able to do it, but some gifted ones will be able to do it. So coming to areas of combination of plane figure, now this is perhaps considered as a difficult chapter. So that is difficult exercise. So this has been deleted. So 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, only 12.2 remains. 12.1 and 12.3 get deleted here. Then coming to the chapter on surface areas and volumes, now conversion of a solid from one shape to another is considered difficult. And frustum of a cone is again considered difficult also and irrelevant also because it is not to be used. It is not getting used anywhere. And later on, there is hardly any question I've seen in class 11th or 12th which mentions about this. So perhaps that is the thought behind it. And that is why perhaps these two exercises have been deleted. So out of 4 exercises, now you have only 2 exercises left. Statistics, this graphical representation that is drawing ogives or cumulative frequency curve, whatever you call them, this is irrelevant. Maybe it is used in economics, but everybody is not going to study economics because some people will go in humanities, some people will go in science, and maybe the economics will not be their subject. So that is why perhaps they have deleted it. Now this was deleted, this has been deleted for last 2 years. So this is also deleted. So please, and this is of course deleted. Probability was deleted in class 9, but that was experimental probability. In class 10th, we teach classical probability. Experimental probability is different from classical probability. So obviously it is not deleted. But what shows deleted is exercise 15.2, which is an optional exercise. Now, if you see under optional exercise, it is always written not from examination point of view. So it was actually already deleted. So I don't know why they've written it there, but anyway, whatever they have written, let us follow it. Only introduction is not there. But when you teach the class, you will have to talk about coin having head, tail, and dice having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So this is actually a teacher's job rather than getting deletion. So what I found that, approximately 30% of the syllabus is deleted. Out of the entire thing, about 30% of the syllabus gets deleted. So if you have 9 months to teach, so if you can just take 30% out of that, into about 3 months time is still, you can always finish everything in 6 months. Now with class 10th, doing too many activities, I don't know whether it's the right idea or not, because you always have pre-board exams and all those things, and everybody wants to have at least 2 rounds of pre-board exams. And before the pre-board exams, actually the students have to be ready with everything. You have to finish the syllabus. So I don't think so this year anybody will have a problem in finishing the syllabus. So this is what is there about classes 9 and 10 rationalization. Classes 9 and 10 rationalization of syllabus. I think This is about them, that what is perhaps the rationale behind it, and how can we utilize what has been related, how can that be utilized maybe in other places, or how can those concepts be given to students if you wish to, and if your students have the ability to learn those concepts, how to give them those concepts. The rationalization is always done keeping the whole country or the whole state in mind, right? So obviously, when you keep whole country or whole state in mind, then naturally it becomes a heterogeneous group. But you have to do a homogeneous thing. So obviously they have done like this. So this is where the teacher's play comes in between. That maybe maybe I can't do much about it. Maybe I can't ask it in the examination, but I still want my students to learn it. So how do I make them learn it? This is the way I make it learn. You can put it as an activity, etc. For that, enough scope is there in these. Now, I like to talk about this assessment and evaluation and assessment cycle of the year, etc. So many things are given there. You see, there is an exam cycle which they have prescribed. Now, in class 9th, you have your entire school in your hand. In class 10th also, you have, for every time you have it, but only thing is in the annual examination will come from CBSE. We naturally they'll have to go to CBSE. So what is prescribed is that first of all, there has to be periodic test of 20 marks. Now, some people call it cycle test, some call it periodic test, some call it by different names, but anyway, a 20-mark test. Half yearly examination, 80 marks. I'm talking about theory part. I'm not talking about practical part. Periodic test, again 20 marks. Annual exam, again 80 marks. Now, there is half yearly exam. Actually, when you enter in your report cards, because many people will have that question, that you show 80 marks plus 20 marks internal assessment. Now, how does that 20 marks internal assessment come? That comes like this. You see, you can have PT1 5 marks, then MA 5 marks, portfolio, that means all notebooks, etc. That is 5 marks. Notebooks means classwork copy, homework copy, things like those, practice copy, etc. You know, every teacher gets something like this done. So I don't know exactly what is there for you, but classwork copy, homework copy, etc. naturally everybody will have. Practice copy also might be there. Some assignments you might have given or something like that. So that is what is covered by portfolio. Then SE stands for subject enrichment. Now, subject enrichment basically means activities, projects, outdoor activities, etc., etc. I would like to discuss one or two outdoor activities also with you. Let me come to that little later. So this is basically you can do for half yearly. Then the annual, again, you have to do the same thing. Now, how you have to do it, that will come to next page. There is no term-wise syllabus this year. That means like last year it was, okay, chapter 1 to 8 is coming in the first term and 9 to 15 is coming in the second term. Now, that sort of thing is not there. This year it is holistic. That means all the entire book will come in the final exam, excluding the deleted parts, of course. The deleted parts are deleted parts and you can leave them. So that is why already they have deleted about 30-40% of the syllabus. So once that much is deleted and that deleted part is not coming in the exam, I think we can easily take an exam of the entire syllabus, whatever is left, that can be done. Now, there are certain new words we are listening here or we are coming to here. The pattern in the half yearly and annual examination, 40% is competency-based question. Now, what is competency-based? You will come to know in a slide or two. Then there are objective type questions. Then there are short answer type, long answer type. So everywhere percentage is fixed, 40, 20, 40. So if you convert 80 marks into 40%, so you usually get this. Teachers of mathematics, I don't need to explain how to calculate 40% of this or 20% of that I don't need to do. So this is basically what is there. So let me come to the next slide. That will make things more clearer to you. See, internal assessment. This is internal assessment, which I've written in blue here. 20 marks internal assessment. This is the breakup. PT1, now come to the annual examination. First half yearly you've already done. Come to the annual examination. PT1 plus PT2 converted out of 5 marks. Now PT1 was 20 marks, PT2 was 20 marks. So PT1 plus PT2 becomes 40 marks. 40 divided by 8 becomes 5. So you will naturally get the sum of PT1, PT2 divided by 8 and rounded by to the next whole number. So somebody is getting say 3.7, so that becomes 4, or 2.8, so that becomes 3. So I don't have to teach you rounding and all that. Now all of you are mathematics students, mathematics teachers, so all you know it. Then MA, that is multiple assessment. Now this is a tricky part. This is actually like Mr. Extras. You can do any damn thing here. Oral test, group work, field work, class test, presentation, etc., etc. Anything. This is not, you don't have to do all of that. So it depends on, like this is basically there to have cater to all type of students. Now there are different types of learners. There are visual learners, there are auditory learners, there are read-write learners, there are kinesthetic learners. I'm not, we'll discuss about that maybe in some other seminar. So all types of learners are there. So give them some work so that they can actually get some marks here. So it could be anything. It could be, this is just a sample given to you that what these could, there could be many more things. Like this is group work, field work, class test, presentations, etc. Talking about PowerPoint presentations, etc. So this is what can be done, considered as a multiple assessment. So maybe you have given some holiday homework, in which holiday homework you ask them to make a project, etc. So that can also become a multiple assessment. Maybe you ask them to do some field work. Like one field work I suggested when we were talking about that Heron's formula, that okay, draw two huge triangles on the field using sawdust, etc., and join them together. Now, of course, to find the area, what do you have to do? You have to find the area of the first triangle plus area of the second triangle. So students have to take measurements, apply the Heron's formula, get the area, etc., etc. They have to do. Now, suppose you are teaching class 10th, you ask them to make a clinometer. Now, all of you know what clinometer is, and take them to the ground and measure the height of some trees or buildings or flagpoles or whatever. So again, you are doing some field work. So some students could be doing field work, some students could be doing something else, making a PowerPoint presentation, etc., etc. This is what is multiple assessment. Portfolio, as I already talked, thinks about notebooks. So classwork, homework, assignments, practice assignments, etc., which is there. Subject enrichment mostly is lab activities. It can also be project work. And again, art integration. Now, art integration is like sugar coating on a pill. So if you art integrate something, naturally students are very happy to do it. Today only I did an activity in the school because these days we are preparing for 15th August celebrations. So obviously more than half the class is busy playing drums or this or that or whatever. So what I did was that I asked them to make some quadrilaterals using set square figures. That I drew some set square figures for them and gave it to them, and they cut it out, and using those set squares, they were able to make all sorts of kites and this and that and decorate it, and they were very happy to do it. They didn't even want a break there. No break is needed. We are working in the break also. That's what they told me, because I had the 4th period as well as the 5th period. So they were working in the break also. They didn't want to have lunch, etc. So the art integration is a very, very powerful tool in your hand. So if you know how to, you learn how to integrate it, how to art integrate anything, it will always be a boon for you. You'll always become very popular teachers, let me tell you that. So this is basically what is there. Then let's come to, again, I'm going to talk now about competency-based questions. There are 3 types of competency-based questions. I'll elaborate each and every type with an example. First is, say, MCQ. Second is case study. And third is source-based integrated questions. Now, MCQ, we have been doing MCQ for last 2-3 years. In the last year, the term 1 exam was based completely on MCQ. And many people think that MCQs is very easy to score. Well, later on, they find it that MCQs are not so easy to score. So you get either 0 or you get 1. And unless and until you are really very good at the basics, you are not going to score MCQs very well. Then case study also we have done many times. Now, case study is in 2 varieties. One is case study followed by MCQs. One is case study followed by open-ended questions. So I'll talk about both of them. And third thing is source-based integrated question. Now, of course, this seems like something difficult. Actually, it is very simple. It's just like a case study question with slight difference. So case study and source-based integrated question, these are 2 terms which are rather used interchangeably. But of course, there is a slight difference. So I'll tell you what that difference is. Let me start with MCQ, one example of MCQ. Of course, one more thing, that according to NEP 2020, rote-based learning, which we have been always doing as kids, we have been doing it, ratification and all those things. Based learning is to give way to competency-based learning by 2025. As I told you that Macaulif's theory was there in which he wanted to produce only clerks. Now, we don't want clerks, we want entrepreneurs. And you can see a lot of startup revolution in India. So why is this coming up? This is coming up because we have the ability to do it. That's why it is coming up. It won't come out otherwise. So that's what basically our learning, our educational planning has to do. So NEP 2020 is to be applicable by 2025. Now, some part has already got implemented, some part is being implemented. So by 2025, it is going to be there. So it's better to be ready for it. For this, assessment has to be competency-based questions. Now, when you are assessment, because there is no point in teaching if there is no assessment. If there is teaching, there has to be assessment. The end of teaching is always the assessment part. So as you must have heard in scriptures, etc., that they used to give Guru Dakshina and all those things, and the Guru used to take the test, and final test, they would then be told that you are ready for it or not, so that's what was there. So no education is complete unless and until evaluation for that is done or assessment for that is done. So obviously the assessment has to come through competency-based question. Now this is a definition given of competency-based question. This is not my definition, but I found it in one of the CBSE documents that one of the CBSE seminars, competency-based questions are questions which test knowledge and skills that are expected to learn during the process of education. Now, of course, not much head or tail is made out of it. I'll try to explain. Those questions which test your knowledge, like I'll show you some examples later on. They test your knowledge, that are you able to apply your head? Are you able to apply the concepts, etc. you are learning? Or is it simply like that? Like I say, okay, one bottle of cold drink costs say 20 rupees and 5 bottles will cost how much? So it's a very simple question, but you have to apply something. So, or instead of that, if I ask you what is 20 into 5, now that is direct and this is not so direct. So this is a difference, you have to apply your knowledge, apply your skill, that what am I actually asking you to do. When I say how much will 5 bottles cost, now which operation will you put there? Will you multiply, will you divide, will you add, will you subtract, or maybe do something else? What are you going to do? So that is something, a student has to put. I'm talking of a very basic level student, maybe class 2 or class 3. I'm not talking beyond that at the moment. So questions are not direct, but applied. Now, applied questions, we all understand what are applied. Most of the word problems are actually applied questions. So instead of saying what is 20 into 5, I said, okay, 1 bottle of cold drink is costing 20 rupees. How much will 5 bottles cost? So again, 20 and 5 are very clear, but whether I have to multiply or divide something, this is something one person has to, the student has to decide. So this is what is basically a very simple example of competency. Now, there are types of competency questions. One is, of course, MCQ, as I said. One is direct MCQ, very simple MCQ. You can easily answer it. Now, here you see one question I've written here. I gave this question to class 10th some time back in one of their tests. LCM and HCF of two numbers, both greater than 1, are 15 and 1. LCM is 15, HCF is 1, respectively. So HCF is 1, that means that both numbers have to be co-prime. Both numbers have to be co-prime. And of course, both of them are greater than 1, that is also given. So I've given a hint, small hint, that 1 into 15 is 15 and 3 into 5 is also 15. But both numbers are greater than 1, so first one I cannot use. So the only option left to me is that their numbers are 3 and 5. So the question is not using HCF into LCM is equal to A into B or something like that. The question is trying to test my knowledge, that do I know something which is co-prime or not co-prime or something like that. So this was not a very easy question and not a direct question, in fact. So of course, 50-60% students got it correct. So what is the answer? The answer is that you have to have, the numbers have to be 3 and 5. So that is the answer. Some of the numbers is asking, so some of the numbers is 8. I don't see any 3, I don't see any 5. I see 16. 15 plus 1 is 16, so that is why I put 16. And the first one is 8, which normally people will try and ignore, etc. So that is what I have done here. So this is an MCQ, which is going to be, this is the type of MCQ which we should actually ask. Then there is a case study question. Case study question is basically some situation is given, and from that situation, people have to find out, students have to find out what is to be done. Now, there are two kinds of case study questions. There are two kinds of, as you can see, first I have given an example that to enhance reading skills of students, a school nominates you and 2 of your friends to start a class library. There are 2 sections, section A and B, and naturally section A has 32 students, section B has 36 students. So what is the minimum number of books you should secure so that they can be distributed equally? Now, whether I have to take HCF or I have to take LCM or I have to do something else, this is something which a student has to decide using this question. Now, there's a case given. On the same case, there are going to be more than one questions. The case study can be followed by an MCQ. Like in term 1 exams last year, class 10th and class 12th, the case study was followed by MCQ questions because they wanted to give all MCQ questions. So case study question followed by an MCQ is there. And another way is that, I'm sorry, it goes in the other sheet. The library has acquired a set of books on different rivers in India. Group of students are to be made to such that each group must study a separate river. So I don't know how many rivers are there in India. Maybe my GK is not that good. So anyway, each group is studying about one particular river. So how many rivers, I don't know, but anyway, there's a set of, this is an encyclopedia set or whatever. So maybe it doesn't talk about each and every river, but different rivers of India. So also each group must be equal in size. So what I'm looking for HCF, I'm looking for LCM, I'm looking for something else. Now this is a case matter is followed by a short question. So this is a short question. It might be 1 mark or 2 marks. There are no options given behind it, given after it. So in some case studies, you might have options given. In some case studies, you might not have options given. So in term 2, when case study questions came, they were without options. So I exactly don't know that what CBSE is going to follow. So we must be ready for both the things. Now in MCQ, what happens is that you don't get half mark for something. So suppose I have asked a question and maybe the student has done, say, first step correctly, but the second step is wrong. So I can't give him 1 mark, but I can always, if I am liberal enough, I can give him half a mark. But in MCQ, you can't give half a mark. You can give what? Maybe you think that, okay, he might be thinking on the right side, but he made some error or something. But you can give only either 0 or 1. Here, in the other one, you can give half also, you can give 1 also, you can give 1.5 also, you can give 2 also, depending upon what the student has done. So exactly what will happen, I don't know. But I think we should ask the students to practice both the types. Then there is this source-based integrated question. It looks like a case study. It's not exactly a case study. The source may be your textbook or any other book or any other place. So this works wonderfully in other subjects. In maths also it works, but in English and Hindi and languages, etc., it works wonderfully. Text given as a passage or a set of mathematical facts followed by some question. And may not be the practical situation this is the difference between case study and source-based integrated question. In a source-based integrated question, you may not have a practical situation. Generally, you don't have a practical situation. You mention some mathematical concept. Now, this started with the IIT entrance exam. The IIT entrance exam many years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they started with such questions. Some content is given, and based on that content, they gave 3 or 4 MCQs. So it was very difficult for people to get selected. And they also had another thing to do, that sometimes, one MCQ would have more than 1 options correct. Well, luckily it is not here because I don't think so. The level of student will be that high. So same way I've done here is that give an example that if A and B are complementary example, of course, this complementary angles is not in the part of syllabus. I'm just using it as an example. So if A and B are complementary angles, then sin A equal to cos B, tan A equal to cot B, etc., etc. is given. Then some questions are asked under it, and you have to give the answer. They have to tick the correct option. So again, this can also be of the same type, maybe correct, maybe options are there, or maybe it's an open-ended question. Again, it can be that type. The difference is that the practical situation is not given. No practical situation is given. And earlier case study, some practical situation will always be given. That is the difference between source-based and of course case study. So note that this is not actually a comprehension. Like class in language, etc., you have comprehension. Here there is no comprehension. A student has to apply his knowledge to answer it. So if A and B are complementary angles, then okay. Sorry, I think some line has got repeated. This last line is not there. So with this, I think I have explained you all the 3 things I wanted to. Number 1 was rationalized syllabus of 9th. What is the rationale behind the rationalization of syllabus? That's what I wanted to explain. What is the rationale behind rationalization of class 10th syllabus? That is what I wanted to explain. Maybe you have certain different ideas, but okay, fine. No problem about that. Because what I consider difficult, you might consider irrelevant. Or what I consider difficult, that might be teacher's job. Now, whatever has been deleted, you treat it as a teacher's job. You don't do entire part of it. Some part of it you can teach through activities or maybe certain other things, some kind of project or this or that. You can always teach if you want them to learn it. Maybe all of them don't want to learn it, or all of them don't need to learn it. But there are some people who are aspiring to become engineers or engineers or go into computer science or this or that. They definitely should have this logic. So those fellows at least can learn it. Maybe there are some school competitions, school level competitions, your students go to Olympiads and all those things. Now those fellows ask such questions. So at least for those students, you will have to do it. So this is what is there. Then there can be some reorganization. As I told you that some part which is there in class 9th has been deleted, actually is a repetition of class 7th. So you can take it back to class 7th and use that part there. So this is what I have to tell. Now, of course, the publishers have brought out some books, as you can see. This is a maths book with a difference. This looks like for class 9th. Yes, it is. So one chapter is also given here. So again, there are all sorts of things. As far as possible, it is NEP aligned. You can see some theory there. Then solutions are written about this, and about this already you have been told by Mr. Jaiswal. So anyway, with this, I come to end of what I have to tell you. The remaining part, Mr. Jaiswal, this is what I had to tell you. Of course, I will be happy to have your queries now.
Sir, thank you very much for guiding us regarding the latest curriculum and explaining us in detail about the new pattern issued by CBSE of mathematics for classes 9th and 10th exams that have been changed due to rationalization of syllabus. Now I request all the participants to ask questions regarding their doubts and clarifications. One question is from Subramanian. Good evening, sir. In grade 10, chapter 2, division algorithm deleted. So exercise 2.2 fully deleted or only divided?
2.3 is deleted. See, 2.3 is deleted, not 2.2. 2.2 is about sum and sum and product of zeros. It is not deleted. So actually 2.3 is there, which is based on algorithm. So that is actually deleted.
Okay. What about exercise 12.3 that you have answered? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and this is Sumita Kumari. Mrs. Sumita Kumari, she has asked P ratios for complementary angles.
Yes, definitely. It is deleted. But of course, as a teacher, if you wish, you can do it in the class. You can't ask them in examination. But they are very important otherwise. So in class 11th, they will need it. All those who study maths. So of course, it is not there. It is deleted.
Is proof of VPT and syllabus?
I think we can share this PPT to all the participants.
Yeah, we will share. Yes, we will be sharing.
That I have written some very good notes, and they will be easily able to comprehend with that.
Yes, we will be sharing. Sure. One anonymous attendee has asked, is proof of VPT in syllabus?
Proof of VPT. Yes, it is very much in syllabus. There were 4 proofs which were in syllabus from chapter on similar triangles. One is VPT, the converse of VPT, the theorem on areas, and the Pythagoras theorem. Now, of course, VPT is there. Converse VPT is also there. This theorem on areas has been deleted and Pythagoras theorem has been deleted. Now, with Pythagoras theorem, converse of Pythagoras theorem automatically gets deleted. So, the proofs of last 2 ones, that is this theorem on areas and this the Pythagoras theorem, obviously get deleted, not these. These will continue to be there. If you see your NCERT book, wherever, of course, you could be using any book, but you can always refer to your NCERT book. So if you see your NCERT book, under some theorems, they are written a small block-like thing is there. So wherever there is a block, those theorems are supposed to be proved. The proof of those theorems has to be learned. Wherever there is a block. Where there is no block, there you don't have to do it. So under it, there is a block. So obviously you'll have to do it. And you can always refer to the CBSE document also. So wherever you have any doubt, you can always go to the CBSE syllabus and mention it and see it. You'll find it easily there. Yes, please. Any other doubt?
On Miss Neha Bakshi, she asks us the parts which have been deleted. Will they come in exam?
Madam, if they have been deleted, why will they come in exam? Deleted means that they will not come in exam.
Sachin Balochia.
Yes.
He asked for deleted chapters in classes 7th and 8th. I think
Yes,
they can check
yes, of course. There is a lot of deletion in classes 6, 7, 8 also. But this particular workshop was, or this particular webinar was about 9 and 10. So I mentioned only 9 and 10. You can go to the NCERT website, and same way as I told you, you can find it out for other classes also. So if you click on book 6, you will get deletions of book 6. If you click on book 8, you will get deletions of book 8. If you click on book 9, or naturally you got for deletions of 9, etc. So deletion is everywhere from 6th standard to 12th standard. But right now, today we were only discussing 9th and 10th. So I mentioned only 9th and 10th.
And Gitika Arora, she's saying, or any activities given in different published lab manuals can we do?
See, CBSE has a lab manual, and all private publishers also have lab manuals. So you can take any kind of lab manual. I don't know what lab manual your school is prescribing to, but you can always take a lab manual and do the activity. You don't have to do each and every activity in the lab manual. Now, whatever is suitable to you, your students, according to their concept or according to their ability of learning, etc., naturally you can always select from that and do that. Of course, resources are also to be considered. Like some activity requires a lot of resources which are not available with you, then you better don't do it. So do what you have resources for.
One Mr. Ford, he has asked, please share the question paper pattern. I think it is not out till yet from the CBSE.
See, you have to wait for the CBSE to bring out their question paper, sample paper. Now that comes somewhere in the month of November or maybe October. So what CBSE is thinking about the paper, naturally we can't think about it. What we know about is that this part has to be, that so much has to be competency based, so much has to be long short answers, so much has to be this. One broad thing I can tell you is 50% paper is objective and 50% paper is subjective. So one broad thing I can tell you, now the books which have been shown to you have lot of objective type test items also and subjective type test items also. When it comes to objective type test items, then they are fill in the blanks, true, false, MCQs, matching, etc., etc. In science, etc., they can be crosswords and all those things also, but maths normally doesn't have much of crossword. When it comes to subjective type questions, there are long, short, that means 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks questions. Now, nobody asks 6 marks questions now. 6 marks questions are practically out. So theory paper is 80 marks. So 40 marks you can just think is going to be this MCQs and true, false and all those things. And remaining 40 marks is going to be subjective type. Exactly how many questions of what type, 10 questions of 2 marks or 5 questions of 2 marks. Now this is something which CBSE has not disclosed so far. So nobody knows it. I am not in CBSE. Even if I was, I would have not known it. So obviously that is still not there. For that, you will have to wait. But 50-50 is definitely.
Mr. Ford, he has asked, sir, is the model question paper 2022-23 released?
No, not yet. CBSE is going to release it maybe in the month of October or November. Till then, it is not released. As I just answered one question, that of course it will be 50% objective, 50% subjective. That will definitely be there. One question I can read from Neha Yadav is that how many activities are compulsory to be compulsory? See, there is nothing like compulsory. This is something every school has to decide according to its availability of time and resources. So I think that if you are doing, say, 10 chapters, and at least some chapters don't have an activity, like chapter 2, what activity will you do? The maximum is that you can show a parabola. So if you throw something up in air at a particular angle, the parabola is described. Maybe it's a stream of water or a stone or whatever. So If you throw it, this much is the only activity which is there. So maybe out of those 10 chapters you are teaching or 12 chapters you are teaching, 6 have or 7 have activity. Wherever activity is there, restrict yourself to one activity per chapter. Don't go beyond that, because otherwise you will not find time for teaching theory part. Remember always that all these activities, etc., is just 5 marks. You divide the time 1:16, that is the ratio. If not 1:16, at least 1:10. Divide the ratio like that. So spend only 10% of your time, whatever time is available to you. Now, different schools in different locations in India will obviously have different kinds of timings, etc. So maybe only 10% time you should decide about activities. So in 10% time, as many as you can do. I recommend one activity per chapter wherever an activity is possible. Where activity is not possible, don't try to find one. You have to do one at least, so don't try to do that. So try to do one activity wherever you can.
On Kaveri Ayar, she has asked, is graphs or linear equations in two variables is to be evaluated?
That's what I mentioned when I was conducting the thing. You see that this is the only point of difference between the CBSE and the NCERT. NCERT list of deletions mentions that there should be no graph, that the graph of two linear equations is deleted. But CBSE syllabus says it is there. So I think CBSE is the one which is going to make the paper. So paper is to be made by CBSE. So let's listen to CBSE. And in fact, we are not teaching something which is totally out of context or something, or which we don't know how to teach and students are not able to learn it. Millions of students have already learned it and millions can still learn it. So at least till you don't get the CBSE sample paper. Now even CBSE sample paper is not a guarantee. So unless and until I have written to the CBSE asking for clarification, but I did not receive any reply. So unless and until there is a clarification from CBSE, better to teach that, because this is the only difference which is there. Rest everywhere it matches, as I told you just now.
Is there
asking basic maths paper and standard maths paper? Yes, sir, of course. There is going to be a basic maths paper and a standard maths paper. Basic maths paper and standard maths paper, books are same, teaching is same. Only the question paper is little different. The syllabus is same. There is no change in syllabus for basic. There is no different syllabus for basic and different syllabus for standard. Basic standard I did not mention intentionally because whatever we are doing today has nothing to do with basic and standard. Whether you have basic paper or you have standard paper, same deletions apply. And what is there is that, of course, basic paper is slightly less difficult as compared to the standard paper, because basic is given to those who are not going to study maths in future. They will not go into science so that they don't have to study, because they are not going to study physics. So if somebody asked me a few days back, the counselor of my school came and asked me that some student wants to take up medical and he had basic in maths. So you, of course, how will you take up physics? You can't take physics, because physics means that you must have had standard maths, not basic maths. So if you are going into commerce without maths or humanities, etc., for that it is okay. So, and of course, everybody is not so interested in maths, maybe. And I myself tell my students that, look, if you don't study maths, life doesn't end for you. Maybe it opens something else for you. So this is not there. No, whatever we are discussing today has nothing to do with basic and standard. Syllabus will remain same. Deletions will remain same. Only question paper will be slightly different.
Motivational proof theorems we need to teach or not? This is asked by Shubhadra Bhise.
Sir, can you repeat the question, please?
Motivational proof theorems we need to teach or not?
See, I don't know what do you actually mean by motivational, but there are certain theorems which are there. Very few theorems are left. In circles, I think we have left with only 2 theorems now, whose proof has to be done. And same way, in circles, there are 2 theorems or 3 theorems. And same way in similar triangles, I think only 1 or 2 theorems are left where some proof is needed. So that much is enough. See, earlier it used to happen, like there is a paradigm shift in the paper. That earlier it used to happen that I used to tell my students, like, look, there are 5 or 6 theorems to be proved, and you learn all these proofs by heart, whether you understand them or you don't understand them. And you just simply go and spit it out in the examination. Of course, a bad thing to do, but there are always some students whom they are always in a danger of scoring poor marks or failing or whatever. So with them, naturally, you have to have some kind of strategy. So, but what I'm seeing for last many years is that they are not asking the proof of any theorem. Of course, they can always go ahead, go back and ask it. But this is something which I am observing always. I am observing for last 2-3 years that proof of the theorem is not there. So even if it is there, there are hardly 4 or 5 theorems. So let them do it. Why bother about it? And maybe it comes. If it comes, of course, they will be able to do it. See, you all need to have a kind of a strategy to see that your students are able to score well. So naturally, once they are able to score well, you will have a lot to write about your ACR and all other things also, because naturally at the end of every year, the school is also studying your result in class 10. So they will always be a good things to write about it. So that's why I'm telling you that, of course, this can be done like this. Whatever theorems are there, you ask them to prove it, learn the proof. Even if they are students are of low level, that means they're not much interested in maths, even then make them learn it.
Geetika Arora, ma'am, she is asking the students opting basic maths, can they take commerce in +2?
They can take commerce without maths. In fact, getting commerce becomes very difficult for them because they have to study economics. And in studying economics, some schools and some boards, etc. Now, I don't know which board are they going to, because maybe they don't remain in CBSE board, they go to some other board. So if they are not taking maths, then economics will become difficult for them. That many boards may not be able to offer them economics. Many boards may offer them economics. This depends on interpretation from school to school. So actually, they are good enough for commerce without maths, and they are good enough for humanities. Humanities also without maths. Humanities, some people take maths in humanities also. Basically, it started with the fact that you cannot study maths any further. Then later on, some people interpret it in this way that you also cannot study economics and physics any further, because economics and physics are two subjects which rest on mathematics. So that is what is there. So exactly depends from school to school, board to board, and other things. However, of course, they are always going to get they are always going to get humanities and any subject which does not involve mathematics. Course which does not involve mathematics.
Okay. One Mayuri Gudipudi, she's asking, should we teach parabolas in chapter 2 and test it?
Yes, of course. There's nothing very special about parabolas. We in fact don't really tackle much. All you need to do is throw up a piece of chalk in air and see the path, or some cricket match. The fielder is throwing the ball back to the wicket keeper. So what is it taking? It is taking the path of parabola. All you need to mention is that a quadratic equation. Now, you're not teaching parabola in that sense as you used to teach in class 11th. So all simple mention of parabola is good enough. So there's nothing wrong in that. If you just hold a water pipe at an angle of 30-40 degrees, again, you will see a parabola being formed. So students can form parabolas, do some kind of activity, watch a cricket match. So that concept is not very difficult to develop. So I think they can easily learn it.
Mr. Mahesh
Triangle
Sen.
inequality is deleted. I can see some Miss Sumita Kumari writing that triangle inequalities is deleted. Yes, ma'am, it is deleted. Triangle inequalities is not there. Of course, if you wish to, you can do some activity in the class about triangle inequality. If you have time, you have energy, and your students are willing, and your school is also willing to allow you to do that, you're most welcome to do it, so that they get that part of knowledge. Because all those who are going to study mathematics in class 11th, they will naturally need some kind of knowledge of inequality in some concept or other. So with that place they don't have it, it will feel bad, and it's not very difficult. Inequalities is also there a little bit in class 7th. So perhaps that is why they have avoided it or cut it out. But it is not that sincerely taught in class 7th. It's only small mention. Of course, you can always drag back some questions to class 7th and do it.
One Mr. Patel Molly is
Yes.
asking, sir, in portfolio, if students make project of a chapter of their liking, topics, usually creative, is it allowed?
Projects are considered in subject enrichment. Right? Portfolio is a set of notebooks which a student is maintaining. So you are maintaining maybe a classwork copy, a homework copy, a practice copy. So that is actually for portfolio. Projects, activities, art integration, all this is a part of subject enrichment activity. So you put them there. Of course, you are going to evaluate this also and that also. So it doesn't matter. But when you say portfolio, you are talking about hardcore records which are there, that's what you are actually trying to say.
One Geeta Monson, she is asking, what are the lab activities in class 10th?
Madam, there is a list of lab activities which is given on the CBSE site. You can have a look. So you don't have to do all of them. Try to do, like, for example, first chapter is there. There is hardly any activity. Second chapter, again, there won't be any activity. Third chapter, there might be some activity. Fourth chapter, again, no activity, because method of completing the squares has been deleted. There was an activity on that. So obviously there's no point in doing it. Or if you want to, you can do it. In AP, you can have some activities in similar triangles and so on. So if you go ahead, maybe you'll at least find 8 to 10 activities which you can do. So when you have to do for subject enrichment, it is better that some activities are at least done. Now you can restrict yourself to maybe 5 activities in each half year. So 5 in first up to half yearly and 5 after half yearly. So 10 are more than enough. You can either use the CBSE manual or any manual published by, there are so many publishers, even the publisher you are talking about, we are with right now, they also have a lab manual. So you can use that lab manual. Many lab manuals come with practical notebook included. So that is most wonderful to use, because the student hasn't got to get some practical notebook. Otherwise, you can use it. Different formats, etc. are available. I think Mr. Jaswal, we have lab manuals also. So you can you can send her a sample if you want, that they can have a look what lab manual we mean. Any lab manual you can use.
Sir, Twinkle.
Yeah, I can see in question that equations reducible to fully deleted is fully deleted. I think you are talking about linear equations. So linear equations exercise, I think it is 3.5 or something like this. Yes, that is completely deleted. Reducible ones are deleted. Is cubic polynomial there? Well, not exactly. We are going to talk only about quadratic polynomial, and then sums and roots also about quadratic polynomial. In the optional exercise, they have mentioned some cubic polynomial or fourth degree polynomial. But for every optional exercise, it is always written. What is written is not from examination point of view. And there also it is very clearly written that this is not from examination point of view. The objective of giving these optional exercises was that there are some students who would like to learn a little more. So, of course, CBSE thought that let us give some optional exercises at different places, so there they can learn a little more. So that is why these were given. Now, again, there was some criticism that you are giving them, then people will start preparing from them. So that is why perhaps they mentioned very clearly that these are not from examination point of view. So those 3 degree, 4 degree are not from examination point of view. If anybody is interested, let them do it. What is the harm? But you naturally you make it clear that they will not come in the examination.
One is Santoshi Iyengar. She's asking proof of irrationality is deleted.
No, there is nothing. No such mention is there. You can read the document and you can see the presentation I have given today also. Proof of irrationality is not given deleted. It is very much there. In chapter 1, class 10th, you are talking about, I think. In chapter 1, class 10, only Euclid's division lemma is deleted. That is exercise 1.1, and revisiting rational numbers and their decimal expansions, that is terminating, non-terminating, etc. That is deleted. So actually what people get confused about is they see article number and they think that this is exercise number. So it is article 1.2 and article 1.5 which is deleted, not that what you are talking about. So that is very much there. Rationality, irrationality, that is all there. That is still there. You have to show root 2 is irrational, root 3 is irrational, root 5 is irrational. And then some questions like 2 plus root 3 is irrational, etc. That is there. Proofs of 3 things are definitely needed. One is show that root 2 is irrational, root 3 is irrational, root 5. That is definitely there.
One is Twinkle Makwana. She's asking, can a basic math student take admission in diploma after 10th?
Diploma in what?
That she has not written.
So first you have to find that out. No? What diploma? Are you going for computer diploma? Are you going for this diploma? See, diplomas are offered by different institutes and different colleges, etc. So nobody really knows that which college or which institute is going to accept it or not accept it. So I think so. What I have seen in last 3 years or 4 years, since then we have had this diploma, sorry, this basic and all this going on. What I find that the basic paper actually, instead of making an easy basic paper, they'll end up making a difficult basic paper. Basic paper is usually more difficult than the standard paper. That is what is my opinion. Maybe some questions are easy, but overall, if you have a look, it is actually that basic paper is little more difficult than the standard paper. So I always advise all my students, whether the student is good in maths or not good in maths, that go for standard. That's the best way out. Then all these things are put to rest. Whether you are accepting it in diploma or not accepting it in diploma, and all these questions will not arise. This is what advice I give to my students. Maybe I have to work a little harder on them, because you see, if you are a good experienced teacher, you know that where are the points where you, if your student learns these topics, he is going to score more. So this is something, like every teacher knows. So I don't have to tell you especially about what is to be done like this. That these are some topics where every student will score more easily, like statistics, probability. Everybody will score more easily. There are certain types of questions by practice, etc. So instead of going for this basic standard debate, it is better to ask everybody to offer standard. Like in my school, out of 175 students, only 4 people offered basic. 171 students offered standard. And those who offered basic were those who had decided already that they are going into humanities. They are going to study history and pol science, etc., where, of course, maths is not an interference. So this is what I suggest everybody. Any other questions, sir?
On Deepa Shande, she's asking, do we have proof of converse of VPT theorem or only statement?
No, we have only statement. Converse ka proof nahi hai. Not proof is not there. See, I give you a very simple way of looking at it. Always see, I'll show you here. Just give me a moment, I'll show it to you. See, wherever you have a proof, like for example, like if you have a NCERT book with you, have a look at page number 125. Wherever there is a proof is ending, you can see this block-like thing which is there. You can see my finger, this block-like thing which is there.
Yes.
So wherever you see this block, this actually means the proof is in syllabus. When you don't see this block, means the proof is not in syllabus of any theorem, whichever. You can see my finger, this block is there. This block shows you that this proof is there or this proof is not there. Very simple way of finding out. Instead of asking anybody, of course, now the theorems which are deleted, so you leave them alone. Otherwise, wherever you see this block, square block as you can see it, I hope it is clearer. Now it is more clear. Wherever you can see this square block means that this theorem is there. And the proof of this theorem is there. If you don't see it, means the proof of this theorem is not there. So this was theorem 6.1, that is basic proportionality theorem I was talking about. So you can see this in 6.2, that is, this is the theorem. This is your converse of BPT. You don't see any such block or any such thing. So obviously this theorem is not, this theorem is not in, proof of this theorem is not in syllabus. Of course, its interpretation is very much in the syllabus. You must remember the statement, you must remember the interpretation, you must remember how to use it. So very simple technique of finding out. Yes, anybody else, any other question I can answer?
Yes, so Sonali Thol, she's asking, can a student take basic maths in 9th also?
See, the basic standard question starts in registration of class 10th. It is not there in class 9th. Class 9th, you don't ask the question that you want basic maths or you want standard maths. This will come only in class 10th when you send the registration for the student. The registration jayega, registration form will be filled, etc. Whatever form, these days all forms are online. There's no need to fill it online, offline, etc. So when this is being filled, you have to do it. When you do registration in class 9, you put standard for everybody. Don't worry about what will happen. Now, when you are doing final registration in class 10, because you have to register your students in class 9. Like right now, I'm getting all my students registered in class 9. So when I get them registered, I offer maths standard for everybody. That is 041. Now, next year, when they will be having some basic people, what we can do is that there is, when you final thing you fill up, then you have an option modify, modify, change, etc., etc. Some option is there. So there you can do, if you want, you can convert it to basic. But class 9th, there is only one paper for everybody. Class 10th, you can't have basic and standard for two like this. Even actually the board doesn't allow having basic and standard for pre-board exams, but people do it. One pre-board, they don't do it because one pre-board is official. The second pre-board is unofficial, everybody is doing it, so you can have basic standard, whatever you feel like accordingly. I hope that is clear. So basic standard question starts with class 10th. It doesn't start with class 9. Class 9 has nothing to do about it.
Ms. Twinkle, she has replied that computer diploma. Can a student
again this computer diploma, madam, it will depend on which institute you go. So you will have to ask the institute that are you going to accept the person with maths basic, or you are not going to accept a person with. Now computer diploma, you're going after 10th or you're going after 12th. So if you are going after 12th, then naturally you'll must have had mathematics, otherwise you will not be able to do it. So if you are going after 10th, now all sorts of diploma are there. Is it hardware? Is it software? Nobody knows. So first of all, you have to be very clear about it. And I tell you one very basic way out. Opt for math standard. Don't opt for maths basic unless and until you have decided you are going for humanities, you are going to study science, you are going to study history, pol science, legal studies, something like that. Okay, fine. There you don't need maths. So better to go for math standard. Because every institute will have a different kind of thinking. So what do they think about? I can't tell you. And which institute we are talking about again is not known to me. Computer diploma is okay. Computer diploma, hardware or software. With hardware, even if you are an illiterate, you will be able to do it. With software, of course, you will need mathematical background. So that is according to what you need. Yes, sir. Any other question?
Yes, Ms. Shweta Joshi. She asking, sir, this year also we have to give project of Nagaland related to subject.
You are talking about that art integration project. Now, every state is paired with every other state. Like in Delhi, we were paired with Sikkim. Now this year, what are we going to paired with? Only CBSE knows. So wait for CBSE people to tell you. I can't tell you that. CBSE people will send you some mail in your Shiksha at the rate of whatever your school account is there. I mean, no school number is there. So they will send you some kind of message that what are you going to relate with. So unless and until CBSE tells you, we can't tell you. So of course, it is not very difficult with art integration. Try to put as much art integration with your students as you can. The more you put it, the happier you are. And of course, the happier the students are. In Delhi, you have government schools having happiness classes. So what is happiness? So happiness classes, the students are happy to learn. So with art integration, you will find students happy to learn. Few days back, I was taking a workshop somewhere, I think in Pune. And there what happened was that I asked the teachers that, okay, it's 1 o'clock, let's go for lunch. I was teaching them art integration, or rather training them into art integration. And they said, no, sir, we don't want any lunch. Same thing happened in my school today only, that class 8 students, they said, no, we don't want any lunch, anything. We are very happy without lunch. We are going to do work with art. So use this art integration and all these things. And of course, they will always help you. Now, as far as, there are certain things like CBSE issues certain things like which state to relate to or this or that. Now, of course, only CBSE knows it. So you will have to wait for CBSE notification. There is no point in jumping the gun about it. Yes, please.
Mahesh Sen, he wants to ask, is reducing form in pair of linear equations in two variables are coming or not? Downstream and upstream based questions.
You are talking about application reducible types. So when you are having a question of reducible type, you can see that is exercise. I'm sorry, I'll have to refer to the book again. I don't remember the exercise number. Just give me 1 sec. 3.6. You see, CBSE thing says that reducible types are deleted. So 3.6 has first got some reducible type equations, and then it has those word problems. Now those word problems also find equations, also give you equations which are reducible types. So once they say reducible types are deleted, this entire exercise is deleted. So all these upstream, downstream, and somebody running here and there and traveling this by this and all this, then obviously gets deleted. So the idea was to take the tension out of the mind of the student. Now, once the tension is not there, that there are no difficult things or something, then what will happen? People will learn more. That is the rationale of the rationale of the rationale document they have prepared. So that is what they perhaps mean. So this is why I can tell you that this exercise number 3.6 is of course deleted.
One Twinkle Makwana, she asking, optional exercise is compulsory for standard math students.
Which exercise?
Optional exercise.
Optional exercise is very clearly written with every optional exercise that these are not from exam point of view. So it is not necessary to do optional exercise. The optional exercise given with linear equations, that is chapter 3. All questions of this optional exercise have come sometime or else in the examination. Although they have written, it will not come. But these are questions which are related to the content of the that particular chapter. Now there is an optional exercise just after chapter 2. Now all the chapter 2 means polynomials I'm talking about. Now after that exercise, none of the questions is related to the content of the chapter. So none of them will come. Coming to chapter 5, again there is an optional exercise there. Now all the questions are not related to the content of the chapter. So obviously all of them cannot come. So I think we'll have a different kind of a workshop someday where we can discuss each and everything of this sort. So you have to use your own brain and find out that what is actually a part of the content or not a part of the content. I think 5 optional exercises which are there. Like in chapter 7 also there is the optional exercise. But again, most of the questions are not forming a part of the, not from the content of the chapter. So obviously they cannot come. Like chapter 5 also, same thing is there. Chapter 6 also, same thing is there. So one very simple yardstick is that have a look that are these questions, if are these questions based on the content of the chapter or not based on the content of the chapter. Now with after teaching so many years, I think everybody has a great idea. Maybe there are some fresh people also. But if you are able to decide that, look, this that is not very big rocket science or something, you can easily decide that this is based on the content of the chapter or not based on the content of the chapter. That's the way to decide whether this can come in the examination or not come in the examination. Of course, they have written very clearly, not from examination point of view. Like exercise 15.2, they have clearly mentioned will not come. Because in 15.2, what was happening was that 15.2 is based on probability only. But there are some ticklish questions. Maybe they want to avoid them. So that is why they've written like this.
So Mr. Ford is saying, sir, the block near the theorem is not in my book. Is it only in new book? The block you showed na, in the book.
Oh no, it is there. If the block is not there, that means that the theorem, that proof of that theorem is not in the syllabus. I have a book which is at least 10 years old in my hand. So block is there even in the new book. So block is there means that proof is there. Block is not there means the proof is not there. That's all you have to.
When Jai Lakshmi, she's asking, sir, but triangles, they have given some sums in optional exercise.
I am saying you that, have a look at it. Like, for example, right now you don't have Pythagoras theorem. You don't have theorem on areas. So if there is a question on Pythagoras theorem or theorem on areas, don't do it. I'll show you something. Like it says theorem, say exercise 6.6 optional exercise. Now many questions are there which you can do. Of course, they are difficult. There's one question which involves circles and it involves certain other things also. Some properties of circle which are not taught in class 10th also. So of course, there you can avoid. Others you can do. There are a lot of solutions and everything available. Now the publisher the publisher who is connected with you right now, I'm talking about Golden Books. If you go into their books, you will find solution to all of them. And once you have a look at the solution, then actually you can add something to it or modify it and use it in your own class also. They are going to send you samples, so you can always have a look.
Well, I think we are running short of time. So
okay. Now, see, maybe there are more questions and more questions people have in their mind after I have finished with all this. So you are welcome to mail your questions to the publishers, and I promise you that I will answer each one of them according to whatever, the answer is, I'll answer each one of them. So they are running short of time or what, so let him finish the task. Sir, please.
Okay. Thank you all for participating in the question and answer session. Hope everyone has got their queries solved. If anyone has any query after the webinar, then they can write to us at editorial@newagepublishers.com. Now, before I tell you the procedure how to receive your complimentary copies of Golden Mathematics and Participant Certificates, I would like to thank Soumya sir for organizing this webinar. I would also like to thank Convener Mr. Rajesh Singh sir, all the panelists, and our distinguished teachers for sparing their valuable time and participating in this webinar and making it a success. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the New Age webinar team members for their hard work and making this webinar successful. Dear participants, to receive your specimen copies of Golden Mathematics, kindly mail your details at specimen@newagepublishers.com. We shall be issuing e-certificates to all the participants of the webinar. You will all receive a feedback form in the WhatsApp group. So kindly fill and submit the form to download your e-certificates. Now it's time for us to take leave. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was nice to answer all the questions, and I hope more questions are there, which I'll be naturally answering via email. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
अपना इंडिया गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना पढ़ाई हो जो करनी जरा भी ना घबराना गोल्डन बुक्स को अपनाना अपना इंडिया गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना कक्षा विषय कोई हो आसान समझ पाना गोल्डन ही तो है सफलता का पैमाना गोल्डन ही ला रहा है चेहरे पे मुस्कुराना मैं गोल्डन का दीवाना अपना इंडिया बुक्स का दीवाना गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना
Golden presents the best-selling reference books for mathematics for class 9 and 10. Main features of Golden books are: all the books are based on latest NCERT textbooks and are as per the latest syllabus of CBSE. Important points have been given for each chapter for quick revision. Solution of all the NCERT textual exercises are given. Other important questions for practice and examinations are also given in a very simple language. Objective type question bank is given, which include MCQs, fill in the blanks and match the columns with answers. The Golden books suit all the pockets and are a boon for the weak, mediocre and intelligent students alike. Buy Golden books for your golden future.